Hi everyone, it's Chris. Today I have a simple card to share with you today, a little technique video using Distress Oxide inks and some ink blending. I'm using these pretty stamps. I'm going to be using the silhouette stamps of the dandelions. This is Springtime Flowers, a set made by Joy Clair Stamps. And I'm going to be making a little channel of the ink blended Oxide inks for these silhouette stamps to rest in. I've torn off one sheet of my MISTI grid pad, and I'm going to be using the grid to line up 2-inch Post-it tape, which is going to mask off the rest of my white space that I want to save. I'm using Gina K Heavyweight White cardstock, which is fantastic if you're not going to be adding water to your Oxide inks. If you're just blending, this is a fantastic cardstock to use because it is so super smooth that the ink blends very, very well. I am just lining up this 2-inch Post-it tape, and it's going to protect all of the white space that I want to keep. Now I'm going to start the ink blending. I'm using the Ranger ink blending tool. I prefer the round pads because you get less of those little edges that sometimes speak through. Oxide inks blend remarkably well, so it is pretty easy to work those little edges and lines out because they are kind of that mix of a pigment and a dye ink. The top of my card is going to be lighter, so I started with Wild Honey ink, and then I just flipped my page, and I'm going to start working those darker colors in and together. This is Spiced Marmalade that I'm just adding here, working that down into the Wild Honey. And now I'm going to add some Fired Brick. This is kind of a deeper orange, and I'm just going to work that through. And as I work down the page, I'm using just lighter pressure so that those colors blend together well. Again, I want to add a little bit more of a deeper color, so I'm going to bring in some Aged Mahogany. So I'll just pull that deeper red, kind of a reddish brown color in, and pull that color in as well. Now I do have a little bit of a sharper line where my colors blend together. The Aged Mahogany doesn't work as well with those brighter orange colors. So now I'm going to go back to the Spiced Marmalade, and I'm just going to work those colors together. The Oxide inks really blend well, so you can hide a lot of mistakes by just layering colors over the top. Now I need to do my stamping. Well, I see that I have my Post-it tape a little bit too long, so I'm just going to tear that off. I'm very precise in my crafting, obviously. And I'm lining up the grid pad at the bottom of my original MISTI. And that will assure me that my card front is lined up because I have my actual card panel lined up with the grid lines. Now I'm just going to work on placement with these. These stamps do not have a very long stem, so I know that I'm going to have to add a longer stem to them. So I'm going to be kind of cautious as I ink these up with my VersaFine ink. I don't want to ink up the stems that are on the stamp right now, so I'm kind of inking very cautiously, trying to avoid those stems because I'm going to end up drawing my own in. Now, the Oxide inks, you can stamp right over them, but it takes a little bit of work. So I'm going to stamp it multiple times, and I'm going to give it some good pressure here. This is as I said, the VersaFine ink, and it will give a really nice crisp black over the Oxide, but it does take quite a bit of ink. So I inked this up 3 times with my MISTI and kind of made a mess on my gridded lid too, but I'll get that cleaned up. Now I'm just going to quickly draw in some longer stems on my card panel. I'm using a C10 Copic marker, which I found is a pretty good match for the VersaFine Onyx Black. And I'm just, randomly drawing those lines in. Now I can peel off my Post-it tape and see how well I did with my little inked channel here. As you can see, the Post-it tape worked pretty well. I've got a really nice crisp edge to my inked area. I'm going to remove that gridded sheet here and go right to my mouse pad here and do the rest of my stamping. I'm going to be adding a sentiment from the set from Joy Clair called Butterfly Kisses, and it just says thinking of you. And here I have to clean up my lid and put my other stamps away before I can stamp the new one. So I've lined that up. I'm going to just pick up that stamp and I just kind of look just to make sure that it is lined up. I use the lines from the lid and just double check to see if I am aligned correctly there. And I'm going to ink that up twice as well. Get it nice and crisp and black. Now here's my card panel, and I've decided to go with kind of a deep burnt orange card base. So I just want to make sure that I am lined up correctly if I want to have a little bit of that card base peeking out, and I think I do. So I trimmed off just a tiny bit from each of the edges of my inked panel, and I'm just going to have that lined up on my card front so I have just a little bit of the edge showing on both the left and the right. And there is my completed card. Thanks for watching.